Did you see my accessory?
Your COVID vaccine accessory?
That's right. I got my first dose today.
Yay!
So basically a year after we went into lockdown. Well, you're getting yours tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
So I'm just like, guys, I'm sure that you listeners who have, I'm sure you all are feeling this if you've got the vaccine and your friends are starting to get it, but Sarah and I basically would watch movies together every week. So we do two shows. We do this show, the Adam and Andy podcast, and we do the Feminine Mistake podcast. So we're watching 3 movies a month just for this podcast now.
We're watching them separately.
But we're watching them separately, and that's just not... Sarah, we never finished Barry. We never even finished watching Barry.
We know. It's like...
What Bill Hader Thirst podcast could have been.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I'm just really thrilled that you and I are both getting the vaccine this week. And that means that it won't be too long before we can sit together and watch a movie and just be together. And like, I'm glad that we've been able to keep up the show over Zoom. And I actually really like recording over Zencastr. And I think we'll continue to do that because it's just so easy.
Yeah.
But I want to watch the movies with you. Like, I want to turn to you and make a face. And I want you to give me that, that knowing smile that you have. There's the one. And now we didn't watch BlacKkKlansman together. So this, I guess I should introduce the show, right? This is not a show about vaccines, but it feels like it is right this second because I'm just so elated with the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It feels like...
Yeah, we probably can watch stuff in May.
I know! We can start watching stuff in May!
My dad had his vaccine appointment today, and his next appointment is April 15th.
Mine is April 15th as well, yeah.
And so 2 weeks, and so if the same thing happens with me, then like 2 weeks after April 16th is like May. So
I know. So we could be watching movies together starting in May. I'm so excited. The kids have missed you. They'll be excited to see you.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to the Adam and Andy podcast.
Welcome.
I'm one of your hosts, Nicole.
I'm your other host, Sarah.
And we're just super excited at the idea of maybe watching movies together finally.
Yeah.
So today's movie is BlacKkKlansman, which is a film, Spike Lee, which is a film that we watched together in the before
when
times.
It came out, or
we didn't see it in the theater.
No,
we watched
it was like the year it came out.
Yes.
I think the year it was like up for awards.
Yes, we were watching. You and I were trying to watch all the Oscar movies that year. We didn't watch Green Book.
Succeed.
Well, we didn't watch Green Book because fuck that movie.
No,
like fuck that movie 100 ways.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they would select that movie and it was made by white filmmakers and this movie was made by a black filmmaker. I mean...
Yeah, it's on my list of things to discuss, that's for sure. But yes, your outrage is well placed, and I agree. I think that watching this movie again just demonstrated to me, again, its brilliance. And it was hard in ways to watch after in the last 2 days, what happened in Atlanta, where 8 people were killed, Asian people were killed in a hate crime that the law enforcement is not willing to even call a hate crime. So a white supremacist who obviously hated women and Asian people, murdered 8 people, and as usual is being portrayed sympathetically by the press and by law enforcement, and it's disgusting. And so for that to happen, I had watched, Sarah and I were talking about this off mic, but I actually watched this in 2 parts. I watched the first half on Tuesday and then the second half on Wednesday. And so this all happened kind of in the middle of that, and so it gave me a lot to think about during, and I'm going to reflect on that during our actual discussion of the movie. But I just wanted to put that out there that watching this again was just as impactful the first time, and this movie should have won Best Picture among many other different awards. Best Director, although didn't
It won Best Adapted Screenplay.
Right, but didn't gosh. Why is that movie escaping me? It's
Roma?
Roma won for Best Director, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not mad about that. I mean, I think Spike Lee, that film was great and this film was great, and those are two films that I saw that were really important. I'm not upset in any way about Roma getting Best Director, but Green Book getting Best Picture over this is a fucking crime.
Mm-hmm.
A fucking crime.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into that. I've got some thoughts about that when we get into the movie. Now, before we get into BlacKkKlansman, I have some Adam and Andy news. Do you want to go through the Adam and Andy news? Okay, let's do that. All right. So I feel like let's start with, I actually have some visual aids today.
Oh.
I have some visual aids. Let me make sure I have my AV up. I do. I thought it would be fun to have some visual aids today, and I think you know why. Because Gucci has taken over my life. We'll get there in a second. Gucci. Let's start with Andy. Okay, let's start with Andy. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, and I got some images up here. Let me just hide the thumbnails.
Ooh.
I think. Yeah, forget it. So there is. So you can see it nice and big, right? Okay. So there is Palm Springs. Won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Comedy since we last recorded. So good on them. Good for them. Well-deserved. Great film. We love it. And also, Chippendale Rescue Rangers has begun shooting its live-action portion. As you can see, it's directed by Akiva. Yeah. So now Andy is not necessarily involved with that because, of course, Andy and John Mulaney are recording the voices for Chippendale. They're not actually getting in a chipmunk suit, although we'd all love to see that. But the shooting has started on the live action portion. And also they are in the midst of shooting Brooklyn Nine-Nine at the moment. So Andy's on set doing that. And that's kind of all I have for Andy at the moment.
Okay. Can we go back to that picture of him doing the spit
Absolutely.
take? Yeah.
Why is this so hot to me?
So hot.
It's like I could stare at this picture endlessly, honestly.
Wow. Yeah, it's like I wish I was in that spray.
Yes. Do you want me to keep it up for a minute longer? Are you ready to move on?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for circling us. I think you brought our attention to the right place, so thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So now, before our last record, or during our last recording, literally the night before, or the next day, the next morning after our recording, pictures from the Gucci set started to just pour in. And
they poured into my inbox as well.
I know. So I'm on Twitter looking at all these pictures, retweeting these pictures. I am not getting anything done. My entire week has gone to shit because all I want to do is look at Gucci pictures. And I'm also texting Sarah my favorite ones.
Mm-hmm. The good ones.
So we've seen the white sweater snowsuit combo.
Pastry being shoved into the mouth.
That's already been memed in so many ways. The outfits.
They're really nice.
Oh my gosh.
70s/90s.
I think it's all 70s.
Sweater. I know it's 70s, but like my dad wore that in the 90s. And the hair.
The Gucci belt. There's something about that Gucci belt that is doing something to me right now.
Which one?
The one that he's wearing in like every shot.
I haven't seen his. I haven't.
Okay, well, I'll have to download a photo. I didn't send you a picture of him doing the hands on hips. You know, the classic Adam dad pose that he does, where he's got his hands on the hips. You can see that belt front and center. I'll tell you that.
Where is this fucking belt?
I'll find it.
Okay.
But all of it. I'm loving all of it. Like, I just can't get enough. And so today instead of texting them to you, I downloaded a few pics from today, and so I thought I'd show you those. I'll try to describe them so that our listeners, if you're watching us on YouTube on the vidcast, of course you'll be able to see this. But so here is Adam today wearing a white turtleneck and blue blazer on a Vespa.
Look at that smile.
He's smiling a lot in these photos. In fact, a lot of people have been saying, now, you know the story of this guy, right? You know how his story ends?
He dies?
Yes. Do you want me to tell you what happens or no?
He gets shot on some steps?
No, that's a different guy. You're thinking of Versace.
That's a different guy? Oh. What happens to him? Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
His wife, played by Lady Gaga, so spoilers for Gucci, if you don't already know. I think most people do because this is a biopic. So his wife, who's played by Lady Gaga, hires a hitman to kill him. At this point, they're estranged. She's his ex-wife. So yes, he does get killed. He gets murdered.
Yes. I knew that.
But everybody on the internet is now saying that fuck this murder movie. Please turn this into a rom-com. That's what we want, is for this to turn into a rom-com, because the chemistry in these photos is out of control. Anyways, so, yes, please.
Is he in a good mood for the early portion of the film? Like, because he's a method actor, so why is he smiling? Are these good scenes?
Well, let me keep going, and maybe you'll catch the tone of these scenes here. So we've got them on in a almost like Roman holiday-esque thing here, where they're on the Vespa together. I'm now convinced that this is Adam's hair, and they just lightened it because it's to be brown. Then we've got this photo of Adam lifting Lady Gaga into a boat.
Oh wow!
Right? This is can we let's end the movie before the murder, right? Like, let's forget that this woman is a horrible person who hired and he's no angel either. I hear he becomes this womanizer or what. I don't know a lot of history about this couple other than that she hires a hitman to kill him, and that he's kind of a womanizer. But like, somebody was posting screenshots of excerpts from the book about his life, and apparently like when they met, he was kind of this awkward, shy, prep kid kind of guy who hadn't really been on a lot of dates, and so anyway,
and then he turns into a womanizer.
That's what I've heard, but don't all rich men with power, isn't that what the story for them is generally? I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that that's a pretty typical narrative, right? Anyway, so here's Adam in his white turtleneck putting Lady Gaga on a boat. And then this might be my favorite of them in the boat. I know, I'm squealing.
Oh my God.
So
look at his girlish or boyish. I guess it's boyish. It's just like that expression is so like,
it's so open and happy, you know what I mean? Like, we so rarely see him with this like happy, relaxed expression. Like, they have such good chemistry. So it's Adam and Lady Gaga on a boat, and he's like it's not paddling. What is when you have the oars in is that paddling? I don't know. He's rowing the boat.
Rowing.
God, oh man, so good in that suit too.
If I was married to Adam, like, I'd be like, what is?
No. It's acting. It's like, acting. It's acting. Know, she's an actor too. She knows.
I know.
It's just acting. Also, I believe there was a picture going around from set a couple days ago where you can actually see. I haven't worn my wedding ring in a long time because it doesn't fit on my big fat finger anymore. But like when I did, I used to, if I took it off for a movie or play or something, I would play with the ring. I mean, you get used to playing with the ring, and there's a photo out there somewhere of him on this set, like just like subconsciously playing with the finger that his ring would be on. So I think it's a movie, and they have movie chemistry because they're good actors. But yeah, I think if Ridley Scott could find it in his heart to turn this into a rom-com, I think we'd all appreciate it.
Wait, this is being directed by Ridley Scott? I feel like I heard that, but that's crazy. He doesn't seem like a I mean, he's a thriller type guy, like a sci-fi thriller.
Well, this is a movie about a man being murdered, so I'm sure there's some kind of intrigue. It's like money, rich, powerful, fashion, intrigue, that kind of thing. I think that the vibe fits. I get where that vibe
Look
goes.
At that smile.
I know, it just melts my heart. Okay, I wish we could stare at this all day, but we need to move on to the last news item. Was that this is a picture of Adam's fake facial hair from Annette that went up for charity auction. I don't know who bought it. I didn't follow up with that, but this is you don't like it. I was like, that's weird. Like I am a big fan of Adam Driver, and I don't like. Also, he can grow facial hair.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the need for this? Unless he really,
I would want to buy his
later that day.
Hair. Huh? Just kidding. I said I would want to buy his real facial hair, but I'm just kidding.
I'm upset just looking at it. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's like also too far apart. Mm-hmm. Like his looks, his face would be enormous at this distance. I guess they really wanted you to just look at every hair. Anyway, so this is a picture of a shadow box. Those of you who are listening to the show and not watching the vidcast, of a beard piece,
like a mustache and a beard.
Is in a shadow box, which I don't know who bought it, but it was an auction for a good cause, though. So
Le Bouc.
Yeah. Does that mean mustache? What does that mean? The facial hair? Do you know what that means?
I don't know what bouc means. I know what bouche is mouth. But pum, I forget what that is. I'd have to. I'm just curious. Hold on.
Anyway, so that's all that I've got for Adam and Andy. Adam and Lady Gaga are shooting the rom-com that we all deserve right now. That does end in her murdering him, but we're just gonna pretend like that's not happening. Okay. Andy's shooting Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Goatee.
Okay, got it.
And pum is apple. So la pomme d'Adam is, I'm guessing, an Adam's apple. So this is the goatee of Adam.
That's hilarious, though. I appreciate that joke. I appreciate it very much. I'm gonna take this image away so we don't have to look at it anymore. Let's get away from that. Oof. Okay. Shall we get into talking about this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait. House of Gucci or BlacKkKlansman?
BlacKkKlansman. We're gonna have to wait until
House of Gucci.
Sarah,
oh my god!
It comes out in November. You and I will be vaccinated. We could go to the theater and see this movie together.
Hold on, I have to be right back.
Well, no, not. So we're not talking about House of Gucci today. Although
I know. I'm sorry.
As much as
I'm
we
just
want
so
to,
excited.
I am too. But this is an excellent movie that we're talking. This is like cream of the crop that we're talking about today. We're talking about BlacKkKlansman, which I do want to point out. Even though I misspelled it in the episode, I did spell it correctly
in your notebook.
In my notebook, so I did spell it correctly in my notebook. So BlacKkKlansman. Before we get into it, a couple things I wanted to say. This is a very silly show that we do, where our shtick is let's thirst after Adam Driver and Andy Samberg, right? So obviously we're going to be talking a lot about Adam. We're going to be making a lot of jokes. But as we said at the top, I think both of us feel that this is a beautiful piece of art, this movie, that came out in exactly the time that people needed to hear it and see it. It's an incredible movie, and also I want to say that John David Washington is incredible in this movie, and that the fact that he did not, as we love Adam, he did a wonderful job in this movie, great performance. The fact that John David Washington did not receive as much attention and accolades for his part in this film, which he is wonderful in, I think just demonstrates the exact white supremacy in the system of Hollywood that that this movie is pointing out. And so I just wanted to say that, because we're going to be talking about Adam a lot, but I want to acknowledge that John David Washington should have been nominated for an Oscar.
Oh yeah, he did amazing.
He's incredible. He should have received as much attention, if not more attention, than Adam for his performance in this movie, which is truly a wonderful performance.
Yeah.
Okay. Sarah, what have you got on your list?
So let's introduce the characters, shall we?
Yes.
There's Ron Stallworth, who is played by John David Washington, related to Denzel.
Denzel's son of Denzel Washington. Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
Very talented.
So good.
He actually looks like a friend that I had in Athens, and it kind of like has like nostalgic, like makes me miss that friend when I see his face.
Maybe give that guy a call.
Yeah. So we have Ron, who I guess the first thing on my list would be that he wants to become a police officer.
Yes, and in fact, it seems like in his, I'm not a police officer person that knows a lot of things about police, but it seems like he might be the only Black person in his department or whatever.
Yeah, and actually the first scene between him and his soon-to-be bosses is that he is the first, and he would be the first. And what would he do if he were called a slur? What would he do if he were faced with racism? Because he would be like the Jackie Robinson of the what is it? The department?
Or the precinct or whatever.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, we see the dichotomy between the way the white police chief, I guess is who he is, and the other guy, I'm not really sure what his job is, but the two bosses, we have an African American and white person in the scene, and their way of addressing the issue is completely different. The white guy wants to sort of skirt around everything, and whereas the other guy is like, the African American fellow is like, let me just come out right out and say it. So I think that is right off the bat an indication of how most of the, I'm going to put them in quotes, good white people behave in this movie, where they just are kind of they're not ready to deal with the reality. They're not ready to get in deep with the reality of the situation for the most part. I think some of the white characters in the movie get close, but never quite touch the real reality of things.
He seems like a moral person, and like not the coolest person, but not a complete nerd.
Yeah, he's
kind of in between.
Yeah, he I think he's struggling with multiple expectations.
Yeah,
and I want to put a pin in that because I want to talk about, there's a lot of duality in this movie, and I want to kind of spend a whole bullet point just talking about that. But great. Okay. Anything? Did you want to go through all the other characters or as well?
Yeah, sure. So there's Flip Zimmerman, who what is his real first name?
Philip.
That makes sense. Flip. And that's played by Adam. And he is just a fellow. Is he he's a detective, undercover detective type person.
It seems like he's part of a whole division of, again, Sarah and I don't know a lot about police work. Seems like there's a whole room full of detectives there. That's my impression.
Detective room.
Yeah. So he's part of the detective room.
Yeah. So there's this asshole,
and sheepskin jacket, part-time flannel model, let's say,
Okay, yeah, part-time flannel model / cop. So there's on IMDb he's called Master Patrolman, but that is the asshole who harasses.
Oh, he has a name, but I don't remember what his name is. There's like they call him by his last name, but yeah, there's the racist cop or the overly racist cop. All of the white cops are a little racist, but the extremely racist cop, we'll call him,
overtly like mega
racist.
Like, it's like, let's all pretend that none of them are like that. It's like
well, they all seem as still continues today, and this movie I think does an excellent job of like there are lines in this movie that literally could be said today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's not in a way that I feel like is too on the nose. Like, I feel like it's really organic to what's happening in the scene, but like there's that whole scene. So there's Flip and Ron are kind of the main character. Like, well, Ron's the main character, and Flip is kind of his ends up kind of being his partner in this whole investigation. Then you've got the boss, the chief,
Mm-hmm.
You've got, I don't know what his job, but he seems to be like below the chief.
Who like
another white dude.
Has like glasses,
yeah,
mustache.
So he seems like in support of the investigation, especially as it goes on, but also trying to please the police chief.
Let's call him Mustache Cop.
We'll call him Mustache Cop. I think that's appropriate. Cool. And then you have sleazy old cop who's the partner of Flip.
Mm-hmm.
Sleazy sidekick cop. Maybe
sidekick sleaze.
I mean, there's nothing particularly sleazy about his actions, but he just seems a little skeevy to me.
Yes, I know.
But he's very funny. That actor did a great job. So those are kind of the police officers.
Yeah.
And then we have all the let's hold on. Yeah, let's get we'll naturally get to them here in a minute.
Yeah.
But then we've got all those guys. But yeah, we kind of skipped over it, but I really want to talk a little bit about the opening.
Yeah, I was gonna say the opening. I totally skipped
that.
Backpedal? Yeah. Let's do it.
It starts with Alec Baldwin as this. I don't know if that's a real person or not. I didn't look this up because I'm shit at research, but except for when it comes to if it's on Twitter. So we've got Alec Baldwin sort of talking about the threat, I guess, that these white people feel like they're facing with desegregation of schools and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got this footage that's been shot for the movie with Alec Baldwin saying all these horrible racist things, mixed with actual footage of real movies. And I think that this movie, BlacKkKlansman, as I think any filmmaker has awareness of the industry that they're in and the work that comes before you, right? And I think Spike Lee does a really excellent job in many of his films of incorporating the films and the media and kind of making a point of how those films shape our perceptions. And so we have this footage of Alec Baldwin's character recording this horrible rant against desegregation and kind of fucking up and messing up the takes, and real movies like Gone with the Wind and Birth of a Nation, which we will see footage of later. The stuff with Alec Baldwin reminded me a lot of the shots at the footage of Bill O'Reilly. Have you ever seen that where he's like in between? So he had they were recording him, but he thought he wasn't on camera, and he like yells at somebody. The Do It Live stuff. It reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah.
Or any like Fox News kind of correspondent, like what they might be in between. Anyway, it was very funny, but very like set the tone of like, this movie, I feel like I'm just all over the place. There's so much to talk about, but I think this movie does a great job of balancing the serious things that are going on with humor.
There is humor. There's definitely humor, but it's very serious too. Like the subject matter is definitely serious, and they do take it seriously, or Spike Lee at least takes it seriously, but there is some kind of humor in there as well.
I mean, there are moments where I just laughed out loud, like when Ron is on the phone the first time and everyone turns around and they're like, "Did you use your real name?"
Yeah.
Or like when Ron tells the police chief with every time he says "white man," I just I can't. not laugh.
Quite.
Like when he says, with the right white man, we can do anything.
Yeah.
Like there are really just like laugh out loud moments and heartbreaking, gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Punch you in the chest moments in this movie. But there's a lot of and I think Spike Lee, as a filmmaker, he's a filmmaker that I admire tremendously. I love his work. Beyond just this film, I think you can see in his other movies that he does a good job of balancing this really serious and at times dark stuff with humor. That feels like it belongs.
Yeah.
In the story.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to say? Did you have anything you wanted to say about the opening here?
The opening was very setting. Like I had completely forgotten about the opening when I started to watch this. And it definitely is like right off the bat putting like, oh, like
I think it's almost like here's your last chance. If you're not ready for this, get the fuck out. Here's the door.
And there are people who probably left.
Because it's some of this is really, this is really tough stuff. But it's important and it's necessary. I think every white person should see this film.
Yeah.
Honestly. But yeah, this is, I think, a moment where they're like, we're not going to hold your hand. We're not going to cuddle you.
Yeah.
We're not going to reassure you, white people. And we're obviously looking at this as two white women.
There is a moment at the end of the film that they do coddle us, that Spike Lee did pull a punch.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
I think I know what you mean, but I think that was on purpose. But we'll get there when we get to the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think this movie is telling you right away, like, this is what this is. And if you're not fucking ready for that, get out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't think this movie coddles white people in any way. It's not our story. It's not about us. There's no white person coming to swoop in and fix everything here to make us feel like that they're good people and they're good white people and they're bad white people. This isn't a movie about that. It exposes the ugliness of whiteness and white supremacy. On multiple levels and in multiple ways. And that is something that needs to be done. And the Academy, the Oscars, they couldn't handle it. They couldn't look at the truth and go, that is this movie will be remembered as having come out in a time. So this came out in 2018 in a firestorm of, we had a white supremacist president, which they talk about in the movie.
Yeah.
Because David Duke wanted to be president. That was one of his goals.
Yeah. One of the lines with Ron was like, yeah, they're not going to elect a David Duke to the White House. And the mustache cop was like, how naive are you?
And I
that.
did find it interesting that there was a choice there to have the white character say that to acknowledge that was a naive. I thought that was I don't really know what to say about that other than I thought it was interesting that it was a white character who acknowledged that. But yeah, we had a white supremacist in the White House. I mean, we're still, white supremacy and violence obviously is still, just because we elected Joe Biden
this week. So
yeah, it's not gone away. It's not getting any better. If anything, they're like in their basements plotting their inevitable usurping of power once again. But this movie came out during all that, a really dark time in that part of American history for us. And I guess the Academy was just like, good, we'll give you some nominations. We'll nominate you for the words that you wrote, but we can't
but that's
give you the trophy for
too
best.
Dark.
Yeah, we can't give you the trophy for best.
Let's give it to Green Book. Green Book is more like palatable and like
it's digestible for us white people. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, what's next on your list? We should just set up generally what happens, which is that Ron Stallworth joins the police force. They put him in the records room. They treat the other cops there are. Some of them outright treat him like shit. Others they keep coming in using slurs.
Yeah.
All of them using the same slur.
Calling the
Well, I don't want to use it, but they did use a name. They used the
T word?
Yes. That was the slur they were using.
Is that a slur?
That's the impression that I got. It's not one that I'm familiar with, but this movie also takes place in the 70s.
Right. I was assuming that was like saying like a Vic, like calling someone like a victim, like kind of like a slang.
Sure,
for like,
but don't you remember that super racist cop used the word at him, at Ron? Yeah. So that, I think it was a slur. It's not one I'm familiar with, but that's the impression that I got. So he's in the records room. He wants to be an undercover cop. They actually pull him to go undercover at a Black student union event.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the local college, what college is it? I
don't remember. This takes place in Colorado.
Okay. So some school out there is a Black speaker. I didn't write down his name. But he basically is there to get support for his cause, and basically what's going on in this 70s with the Black Panther movement. And I'm
actually going to look up that character's name as well, because he changed his name as well, which was a common thing at the time.
And the thing that he said that stuck out to me was all power to all the people.
Yeah, I thought
think that was a Black Panther.
Well, I thought so. The thing is, the white cops are worried about. They're not concerned about the Klan, which is literally planning violent acts.
Mm-hmm. They're concerned about the Black Panthers.
Yeah, they're worried about Black people getting together and organizing. It's something that they're very concerned about.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to look up that character. I don't know why he's not at the top here. Maybe I just missed him. Kwame Ture. So yeah, I thought that scene. Here's the other thing that I'm really pissed about. This movie should have won the Oscar for Best Editing as well. I think this movie, story-wise, structurally, the filmmaker, the writer, understands the power of editing and the power of the collision of images, which is what editing really is. And I think you can really see that in this scene, where Kwame is talking about how Black people have been made to feel like there's something wrong with the way that they look, the way they talk, the way that their whole lives are, and you're seeing all these faces, these people listening, and these different faces, and we're really focusing. The lighting is this really soft lighting on their faces, and you can see like the natural hair and all that stuff, and their faces are kind of fading in and out as they listen, and you can see the attention that's being paid. And you can see how it's affecting Ron as well, because he's in there to kind of just listen, and he's been mic'd. He's got a mic on him, and you can
to get the vibe from the room and see how people react.
But he's also being recorded.
Yeah.
So which means they can take what this guy's saying out of context.
Yeah.
Which they do. But I think that it's obviously a very clear moment where Ron is being influenced by, the idea that that change needs to happen, and maybe I'm in the place where I can do something.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely leads him to the path that he chooses, which is to investigate the Klan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that night also is when he meets Patrice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
She is the president of the Black Student
Yes, Laura Harrier.
Yeah.
Also, one great, incredible performance that I feel like also didn't get enough attention.
Yep.
Because
Very
she was
strong.
Really good in this movie.
Really good.
But yeah, she's president of the Black Student Union. They kind of go out for drinks afterwards. She's there. She and Kwame Ture are stopped by super racist cop, and he basically assaults her in front of a bunch of people. And so now Ron has got now this is the first layer of his multiple identities, where he's got to be Ron Stallworth, who wants to have something with Patrice, but can't tell her that he's a cop.
Yeah. And
right?
She calls them pigs.
Yes. I don't know if you noticed this, but she calls them pigs, but so do the clan guys.
They do.
Yeah.
I did pick up on that, and I was like, that doesn't, because at least what's been going on recently you see a lot of cops being involved in things like the Klan.
And they're clearly involved in the Klan in this movie as well. 2 of them were FBI agents, if you recall.
I don't recall.
But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that the Klan calls them pigs as well. But yeah, she calls them pigs, and he takes offense to that, understandably. He tries to talk to her about, trying to change things from the inside. She doesn't think that's possible, which is totally valid considering what her experience in life has been.
Yeah.
So here, this gets us to sort of the crux of the story, which is that Ron just sees an ad for the Klan membership in the paper, and he decides to call the Klan and pretend to be a white man.
Did he ask anyone to?
He did not.
The first time I saw this movie, I felt like I maybe missed a scene where they were like, "Hey, you should pretend to be interested in the Klan."
No, that was his idea entirely. It was just kind of a spontaneous moment. Again, I think he was really moved by that speech, and he saw an opportunity, and I think he just thought really quickly and was like, "Let me just see what happens." But everybody in the office turning around to listen to him on the phone with Walter. So Walter's the president of the Klan chapter in their town, or the organization, as they like to be called.
It's like they know they're shitty, but they don't fully admit to it. It's like they're like, don't call us that.
Yes, and again, I think this goes to the duality, which I definitely want to talk about. But yeah, I think there's an effort here for them to kind of appear to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
And that a branding change, if you will. Yeah. But yeah, so he's on the phone with Walter. That scene is so funny, where he's the other thing that really makes me laugh about this movie is that Ron Stallworth's white voice, the real Ron Stallworth, is so clearly so different from Adam Driver's voice.
Yes.
There's no attempt made, even though there's the whole scene where he's trying to get Flip to has him sort of speak the words of that James Brown song. Yeah. There's really no effort at any time for them to try to actually make their voices match, which is great. Well,
there's a scene where they try to where Ron tries to get Flip to repeat after him, and
the James Brown song.
Right. They do seem
It's in the scene, but we all know that they don't sound alike at all. And there's a couple of moments where people are like, you don't sound the same in person, but it's very obvious. And also there's this whole idea on the behalf of the white people in this movie that they can somehow, they know when they're talking to a black person, as if that person is so different from me and they speak so different from me that I couldn't possibly be talking to a white person.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a whole thing. It's their hubris that kind of allows this charade to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of absurd.
What's next on your list?
So let's see. Felix.
Yes, Felix. So Felix
fucking
Felix and his fucking wife.
Connie.
Ugh,
both of them.
The epitome, the 1970s Karen, if you will.
Oh God. The 1970s Karen, and who's the one who's...
I think, and Connie's Karen, there for us to remember, it's not, yes, the Klan was a very masculine, hyper-masculine organization, but it was only made possible by the support of the white women in their lives as well. Like, these white women were also there. White women are not blameless here. And I think that's what Connie's main purpose is in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to say about Felix?
He is just the worst. He's
so first of all, so Ron sets up a meeting with the Klan.
Right.
And then, but Flip has to be the white man to
go in,
put the microphone on and actually go in and be Ron Stallworth.
Channel on.
I'm sorry. I need a moment. I need a moment to think about that flannel.
Okay.
I'm okay. We can keep
okay?
going. We can keep going. So Ron Stallworth, White Ron, who is now
White
Flip,
Ron,
has to go and meet with the Klan. And this is when we get introduced in person to Walter. And we get introduced to Felix. And we get introduced to, I don't know, let me look up his name. God, that guy did a great job too. He is revolting.
He was also in
the Andy one we Landers, by the way. Andy Landers is Racist Cop, by the way.
Okay.
That's his character name.
Who's that guy? He was also in the one with Margot Ra.
Yeah, he was in I, Tonya.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, there's Ivanhoe. His name's Ivanhoe in the film. That's his character name, Ivanhoe.
Okay.
Anyway, so what do you want to say about Felix? We get introduced to Felix at the very tense billiards club scene.
He is suspicious from the start. He thinks that
does
Flip
not like Jewish people, in addition to hating black people.
Hates them, and is convinced that Flip is Jewish, which he is.
Which we find out he is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or before he goes out there, because he's wearing a necklace that they were like, you got to take that off.
Yeah. He just like Felix just gets a vibe, and
he's very suspicious and domineering, and
he has a really like kind of voice,
right? I mean, all the actors in this film did a really great job.
Oh, yeah.
They were really committed to these awful people that they were playing. But the group generally ends up accepting Flip, and so now we're off and running, right? They get the permission of the department to move forward. The department is not doesn't really see the Klan as a credible threat. They're more focused on what's going on with the Black Student Union. Like, they're very concerned about Black people organizing. It's very upsetting for them. They're not concerned about the Klan. But Ron and Flip move forward with the investigation. And so now Flip is basically embedded with this group. I think that we haven't talked too much about Adam Driver's performance, considering this is a podcast about Adam Driver, but so far. But I did want to say that I think he really in this film does an excellent job of being quietly horrified, because Flip is having to play this part, and you can see as time wears on, as he is this guy, how it wears on him. And you can see that he has really got to keep his emotions in check. And I think you can see that very believably being played out by Adam. That he doesn't hesitate to use the filthy, racist, anti-Semitic language that these guys respond to. He doesn't hesitate to do that. But you can also see moments
behind the eyes, so just like kind of like this heartbreak, kind of like this, like, I can't believe I have to act like this. Or
even so much, I think that most of the time he keeps up the wall really good. There are just a couple key places where it slips. So I would like to talk about the lie detector scene.
Yeah.
So Flip gets in with these guys, and they go to Felix's house, and they're having a Klan meeting at Felix. The organization is having a meeting at Felix's house, and this time they're not. They haven't fully. Flip isn't a member yet, or Ron isn't a member yet, I should say. And this is when we meet Connie. I think this is when we really also see another thing that is, because I think we're asked a lot to compare that organization, the Klan, a bit to the student union as well, and the way that their meetings are run, and how that those meetings have men and women participating equally in the revolution. And the women in the Klan meetings are very segregated. She's there to pass out cookies, and they only want to bring her in when they need her.
She has an idea, and he's and his and Felix is like, "Sweetie,
Get out.
like, no,
get the fuck out."
Yeah.
But then what happens is at some point towards the end of the meeting, Felix, who still believes that Ron is faking it, which he is, that's true. So he takes Flip down into the basement
where there's a lie detector.
Wants to give him a lie detector test to prove that he's not Jewish.
Yeah.
Super intense scene.
Yeah.
Really scary.
Yeah, he has a gun.
I think that's one of the moments where you see Flip really like, I'm deep in the shit right now. Is that he's really good at playing this character he's playing. Flip, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Flip now, not Adam. But when he picks up that gun and points it at Flip, like you can see a moment where he's like, oh shit.
But also, like, if he's a detective, isn't he used to having a gun pulled on him though?
Sure. But in this case, he doesn't have anything to defend himself with. And this guy is fucking crazy. And I think he knows that. I think you can be trained with weapons and to be in a situation where violence might occur and still be concerned for your life, which I think you can see for just a second. It's like the mask slips for a second and you can see him sit up like, I have to find a way to talk my way out of this.
Yeah.
Anyway, did you have anything you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, no, I definitely saw that he, there was a oh fuck kind of thing, like a genuine oh fuck. And
the mental gymnastics that he has to go through to try to skirt around, because Felix is relentless and he's right in this. I don't mean he's right morally. He's right. Flip is faking it.
Yeah.
But we don't want him to find that out because we care about these characters and we don't want anything bad to happen to them. So this is very tense for us. But you can see the mental gymnastics that Flip is going through, going so far as to call the Holocaust something beautiful. And here we're having this conversation that we're still having today, where there are people that don't believe the Holocaust even happened.
Yeah. And then Flip is saying, like, I think it did happen, and I think it was, a good thing.
He says that it's great. And it's like as a person with Jewish heritage to sit there and say that with conviction and believability, what that takes for somebody to say that. I mean, that's survival instincts right there.
Yeah.
Obviously he's got a job to do. He's committed to this job.
And then Ron.
Also, I just wanted to say generally, because I don't feel like we really spoke about Flip's place in all this, which is that he is a bit reluctant to be part of this investigation at first. And I want to say that this is not a movie where white people come in and fix everything.
Mm-mm.
Like, I think Flip is what I would call a pretty believable portrayal of an ally, which is somebody that is helping, but also has faults. Like, isn't going to stand up in front of the chief and say, no, we have to keep doing this, or we have to do this way, or this is a problem, or this cop is racist and he shouldn't be in the force. They have this whole discussion about racist cop and about how he's a bad cop and even shot a kid.
But what are they going to do?
And they're like, we are family. So I think that they do a good job, that this film does a great job of going like, Flip is an ally, but he's still part of the problem.
A white cop, yeah.
Yeah, he's still a white cop who can pass, which passing is something that we talk a lot about in this film, because Flip is Jewish, but he doesn't wear his Jewishness on his skin. Once he takes that necklace off, he's able to slide under the radar pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because we didn't really discuss that part of him yet.
Well, the scene ends, so Flip doesn't actually ever put on the cuff because Ron, the real Ron, throws a rock through the window.
At great personal risk to himself. Like, he goes into the hornet's nest. I think throughout this movie, Ron is brave. He's committed to his committed to this task, which is to uncover the violence underneath this exterior of this organization. And he's going in there. He knows that Flip is in danger.
And he knows they have guns too, probably. They could shoot him if they, like, and Connie sees him running away, and she announces that this black man has thrown a rock through the window, and so everyone at the meeting gets up and gets their guns, and
they start shooting at his car as it leaves, and Flip
grabs the gun and shoots, like, to miss.
He shoots to miss, yeah. Okay, we're gonna wait till the thirst until we talk about all that. The Flip energy, what I like to call the Flip energy, is big in this movie. What else you got on your list, Sarah? Well, while you think about David Duke, yes, we should talk about David Duke. Played
Topher Grace.
By Topher Grace, who I can't recall the exact quote, but I read an interview with him about this movie a while back, or a quote from him in any case, where he said that he was really proud of this movie, but that living as this character was absolutely horrible. Like, he was like, I'm glad I was in that movie. I'm proud of the work that I did, and I think the movie is really important. But being David Duke was emotionally awful for me. It took me a while to get over being that guy. I think he actually, I want to say this was in reference to him, like, he does a lot of Topher Grace, the actor, does a lot of side editing projects where he'll recut Star Wars movies and stuff. Like, he did an edit of all the prequels as one movie called The Phantom Edit. And it's like a really, like, a movie that, like, it's an edit that everybody says is, like, kind of the best version of those. Although I've seen one on
how long
Twitch
is it?
I think it's like 3 hours long, 3 hours long. He basically condensed the first movie into flashbacks. Anyway, it's but I think he had done some editing on something, and I think this was him saying, like, I had to go and do that to get away from the experience, my experience emotionally of being this guy. The movie was great, the experience of making the movie was great, but being that guy was something that was hard for me to shake.
Yeah, when I watched this, I was thinking to myself, I would not act in this movie, like, even for Spike Lee. Like, I just don't think I could do it.
I would. I think I would, because, and I think that's totally fair. I think I would, because I feel like, how else is that story going to get told if a white actor is like, I can't be that person? And I think you saying no is that you would say no is totally valid. I don't want to say it, but for me, I think my rationale would be, here's my opportunity to do something good, which is to be the bad guy, because that story has to be told. I would not enjoy being that person at all. I wouldn't enjoy it, but people have to commit to these characters in order for the story to be heard. People have to go, I'm going to put my feelings about being a good white person aside and be, I think being, an ally means acknowledging the ugliness of whiteness. And that's what those actors are doing by taking those parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I'm sorry.
No, I totally get it. And, I think it would be tough to live in that character. But David Duke,
yes.
Fucking what piece of garbage that guy is.
Like, he wasn't as actively horrible sounding as Felix.
No, he wasn't aggressive and Weasley. He was a cleaned up, palatable kind of evil. He was a palatable kind of evil, which frankly is, I think, where the most evilness and where the most evil in whiteness hides is palatable evil. Yeah. So Ron begins talking with him on the phone quite a bit, and even gets him to rush through his membership, so that he can be on, so that he can attend when David Duke comes to town.
And David Duke is convinced that he would know that if he were black.
Yep.
And gets him to say, like, how would you know? Like, what would I say? Like, and he says something that I forget what the words are, but
well, he's basically making fun of the way, like,
yes,
that he thinks the black people talk,
which isn't even like.
But you know what? Here's the thing: is colloquialisms, like the way people, like the natural speech that people have, the way people, the diction and the way that people accent certain words, that is based on the regions that people live in and the communities that they live in. And white people do that just as much as black people do. Like, whiteness is not the default way people speak. And
no.
Whiteness is not a particular way of I feel like what he's saying is that a white person speaks with intelligence, and that is false.
False.
Which Ron clearly proves to everyone over and over and over again. Yes, he's putting on some kind of voice for Ron Stallworth,
but it's
the man.
It's not like
it's not that different from his actual voice, though.
From his actual voice, and it's also not an overly, like, okay, so in the movie, sorry
thank you for bringing that up. I was just thinking about code switching and
putting on the white voice. I feel like in that movie, the character played by Lakeith Stanfield did a much more
he literally had a white person doing the voiceover when he was doing his quote-unquote white voice. But I think that's the bottom line, is that David Duke is saying, well, what he's saying is basically that a white person speaks with intelligence, and that's just false.
Yeah.
And it allows them to pull the wool over his eyes.
Because in the end, we'll save that.
Yeah. God, that scene is really rewarding. But I want to talk a little bit about the Biscuits monologue.
Biscuits.
So this is when David Duke and Ron are talking about, like, David Duke is talking about this black woman that took care of their family, and it's this whole thing about, it's like she was part of the, and like Ron, like they're comparing her to like the family dog and all this stuff. And then so Ron has been pulling him on the string this whole time, basically just feeding him the kind of things that he wants to hear, but mocking him at the same time in a way that David Duke does not see.
Yeah.
And then, this is where I don't know how you can watch this movie and not nominate John David Washington for an Oscar. This speech alone, and the fact that what Ron is telling him, David Duke, is about a story about a black child who lived across the street from a white child, and they played together until the white child's father said, "You can't play with him anymore." And he's delivering it as though he's the white child, but you can tell that he's really talking about something that happened to himself that was very hurtful in his life, where he had a friend who then couldn't play with him anymore. And I'm getting chills just talking about it. The emotion, the restraint that he has in keeping up this facade, but what you can see going on behind his eyes at the trauma of this memory is just really powerful.
Yeah.
Really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I really want to talk about duality now. Because I think this film does this film is full of duality. It's full, and it does a really great job of balancing all these things. So the obvious thing is we've got two Rons. We got two Ron Stallworths, right? Yep. We've got Ron Stallworth, the real person, and we've got Ron Stallworth, the fake Ron Stallworth. But we also have Ron Stallworth, the black person who is pretending to be the fake Ron Stallworth, and Flip, the white person, pretending to be the fake Ron Stallworth. So we have that obvious duality there.
Yeah.
We also have the duality of the Klan, where the Klan is this violent, hateful organization that's burning crosses, planting bombs, but they want to call themselves the organization so they can be palatable politically. So that people like David Duke can rise to power, as he did. And then we have the duality within Ron. We've got Ron the cop, and then we've got Ron the would-be revolutionary. Ron with Patrice versus Ron on the job. And so, and I think that part of the duality, I think, really shows the inner conflict that I think anyone in his position would feel. But that also, I think a lot of, and I'm not a Black person, so I can't speak to that experience, but based on the films that I've watched about this topic, including Sorry to Bother You, there's this idea that you have to be one way around, bless you.
Okay, I'm good. Sorry.
There's this idea that you have to be one way around a certain group of people, around white people, and that you have to be another way around the Black community, and that those are at times opposing forces that conflict with each other, and also make it hard for that person to truly be themselves anywhere.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. You also have Flip and his relationship to his Jewishness.
Yep.
The duality there, where he says, yeah, I'm Jewish, but I don't really think about it.
Yeah.
And then you get this, another, I think, really beautiful moment between Ron and Flip, which is Flip talking about, they're looking at the card. They've got the membership card from David Duke, rushed it through. And they're looking at this card. And Flip says, I never really thought about being Jewish. I didn't have a bar mitzvah, but now it's all I can think about.
Yeah.
And I relate to that a lot, because I have, my mother grew up Catholic and my father is Jewish, and I was not raised with any particular religion, but I do consider myself, in terms of my self-identity and ethnicity, to be I identify more with my Jewishness than I would say I identify with my Catholicness. I don't really identify with that, but and during the years that Trump was president, I did spend a lot of time thinking about that. How I didn't have a bat mitzvah, I didn't go to temple. I only really started celebrating Hanukkah and other the sort of Jewish traditions in my adulthood. But that it's like I thought about it all the time. And that, if I had been living in 1930s Germany, it doesn't matter what I think of myself. Just having a drop of that blood in me would have been enough to send me to one of those camps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really relate to that, where he's saying, I never considered myself to be an other, but now that everyone else is telling me that I am, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was very emotional, that line.
Mm-hmm. And then I think there's just what is the unspoken thing is the duality of America.
Yeah.
The two Americas that we live in.
Yep.
Right? There's the America that's for white people, and there's the America that's for everybody else.
Yep.
And the America that's for white people gave Green Book the Oscar for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And the America that's for white people didn't nominate John David Washington for an Oscar for his performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, what do you got next on your list?
So I guess what's next on my list is kind of the end, the bomb.
Yes. Before we get to that, I really
there's the scene where Flip is kind of caught, or both of them are kind of.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, there's a couple things I want to talk about. I want to talk just briefly about the shooting the target scene.
Yes.
And I was watching this on my VR headset. I had to take a little break at this point during that scene, because this is the first time you're really seeing them all out, like all the Klan guys out practicing shooting guns, and you're like, ooh, this is making me creeped out. Yeah. But we don't see what they're shooting at. And so that moment, again, where is John David Washington's Oscar for this? When he comes out of the shadows, the bushes or whatever, and he's looking at these targets that look like stereotypical, like Black children or whatever, with bullet holes in them. And the way he touches the target and walks away, it's like
heart
yeah,
wrenching. Yeah.
I think again, it's just like the depth of the hatred here, and these symbols. Those symbols, if we go back to Birth of a Nation, which I think we'll touch on here in a second, and Gone with the Wind, and those and some of the cartoons and media in the past, and even people still, wearing blackface and Halloween costumes and stuff like that. All of that iconography just kind of wrapped up in these targets, these targets that they're shooting at. But yeah, let's talk about. So we get all the way up to fake Ron Stallworth. David Duke's in town.
It's their initiation or their
he's being initiated.
Or their whatever.
He's being initiated, and the real Ron Stallworth gets assigned to David Duke as his security. Yeah, his security. Which I think is just kind of a way for us to get him at the event. Like he has to be there. Yeah, so we got to get him there somehow.
But I'm just like, I mean, I agree that it did seem right for the story and everything for him to go, but it also seemed like in real life,
it was a bit of a stretch.
I would have been like, they're going to recognize my voice. This is really like unsafe.
I mean, Felix, we didn't talk about this, but Felix actually showed up at his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so saw Patrice and saw him.
It was like it was a bit of a stretch, I think, in the story for him to have been there, but I'm glad, but he had to be there. So I accepted it. I accepted it was important for him to be there.
Yeah.
Also, I think we were just supposed to count on the fact that these guys are literally so dumb.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't notice. Although Felix does, of course.
Felix does. Felix, the suspicious person he is. Yeah.
And so they're intercutting this initiation with Harry Belafonte at the student union, giving a very detailed and grotesque story about a lynching. And the editing here, this movie should have won for best editing. But the storytelling, the comparison between these groups, the way that the lighting, the difference in the lighting and the color of each of these two groups, the way that these guys are hooded, they're in the shadows, and everyone at the student union is like standing together in this kind of community space, and no one's hooded or anything like that, and they're all sharing in this pain together.
Yeah.
And we're cutting back and forth between these two groups. It's just a really powerful scene.
Yeah.
And again, here in this initiation, I think you see Flip. This is where the mask slips a little bit when he takes his hood off, and David Duke's there with the water or whatever fucking weird ritual shit that they're doing. Then he's initiates him or whatever. You can see that anguish.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be part of this.
Yeah.
Even for pretend.
Yeah. Ugh. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I first of all can't imagine playing it like as an actor, but to be a cop pretending to be a real KKK person, like,
yeah. So afterwards, they have a little luncheon. And again, there's always these reminders that it's like the Klan is easy. It's easy to pin everything on the big bad here, but all the way people are a part of the problem, because we're panning over. So the Klan's there, they're having their luncheon or whatever, and they're panning over all the wait staff, and the white women during David Duke's speech are smiling. And I don't think we know what they're smiling about. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily that they agree, or maybe they're smiling because
they're
oblivious,
or they're not thinking about it too deeply. But the black people are like,
fuck this shit.
Fuck this. One person says, if I had known this was a Klan thing, I would have not come in today. Or yeah.
So things get a little tense at this luncheon. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So one of the other people there actually knew Flip as a cop.
Yeah, he put him away.
He put him in jail in
armed
prison
robbery. Yeah.
Okay. And so this man who was put in jail by Flip tells Felix who he actually is.
He's like, this guy's a cop.
And Felix then looks at the real Ron.
And he starts to put the pieces together. This was very tense. This whole scene was very tense.
And then they kind of talk to Flip a little bit, but then...
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about the Polaroid though, Sarah. Before the luncheon.
After? Was that before?
It's before. It's before this happens. Is that Ron...
The real Ron.
This scene was so great. The real Ron Stallworth is like, no one's going to believe me that I was your security today, Mr.
Take a
Duke.
Picture.
Can we take a picture? And then he gives it to Flip to take the picture. And you can see that Flip is like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
What in the fuck are you doing?
He's like, don't fucking touch me. But
he has to do that for the part. Yeah. But I also think he's internally like, hey, what in the fuck? And when he takes the photo, Ron puts his arms around those guys and they get so upset. And it was so gratifying for me.
What I don't understand is why David Duke would allow that to happen.
Because he's the hubris, Sarah. He'll stand next to the guy and look and look grumpy about it, but he didn't expect to be touched. I know. The hubris.
God. And he was like, he was so mad. And he was like, you have no idea what you just did.
And he's like, try me. I'll have you thrown in jail.
Yeah.
And the Klan is trying to keep up appearances, so he doesn't want to start a fight at the luncheon. So he's going to back down.
Yeah.
And Ron knows it.
I am afraid, for the rest of this movie, I'm afraid for Ron's safety.
I'm afraid for Ron's safety and Flip's safety. Honestly, now, we had seen the movie, so we knew what happened. But the first time we watched it, I am afraid for their safety from the moment that lie detector test comes out. I mean, obviously, once they get embedded with the Klan, I'm concerned. But from the moment that lie detector test comes out, I am on the fucking edge of my seat for the rest of the movie. What's going to happen to Flip? What's going to happen to Ron? When Ron is at the luncheon and Felix starts to put the pieces together. Also, we know that Connie has a fucking purse full of C4 and that she's going to go down to Patrice's house and leave a bomb on the porch. At the student union, I guess, was the plan is to go where Harry Belafonte is. But Ron and Flip have kind of outed their plan already. So there's too many cops around for them to do that. So this investigation, besides uncovering some Klan members in the FBI, and the FBI is not willing to even help them go deeper with it. They, in addition in covering these people involved, they also prevent this tragedy from happening where the student union could have been blown to smithereens by Connie and her fucking purse. A white woman's purse is a fucking weapon. It really is. Anyway. So back to Felix. He's putting the pieces together. I'm gonna let you take that back up.
So they start Felix and the guy who was put in jail.
Flip. The other guy. What is his name? You keep talking. I'll find out.
They start to poke at Flip, and then someone comes and interrupts them. How do they get
what happens is Connie calls. Connie is supposed to be at the Black Student Union dropping off a bomb. And so they're at lunch and they're trying to out Flip in front of David Duke. But what happens is, I'm trying to look for this guy who plays the other character. Yeah, I don't know. I think his name might be Steve. That guy. Anyway, it's inconclusive. What happens is that Connie calls and Felix has to go talk to her on the phone because the plan, they have to go to plan B. Okay. That's what interrupts them.
Okay.
And and Ron sort of sees what's going on and he realizes, oh shit, something's about to happen. I need to go find Patrice. So he leaves. Flip stays at the lunch table for that is some balls of steel. Because I feel like as soon as he called me Flip, I'd be like, "Well, it's been great, guys, but I'm sorry, I can't stay for dessert. My mom just called. I gotta go. I got a dentist appointment. I'd be out of there."
And David Duke even asked him, "Why'd he call you Flip?"
And he said that was a name that I had. That was a nickname in prison, and they're not buying it really. And then he's like, "Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom," and he runs out of there because I think he probably maybe would have stayed a little bit longer, but I think he sees that Ron left and that he sees that Felix and Ivanhoe and the other guy left, and now he's like, "Shit, something's up, and I gotta go
it's
too."
It's good that he left because Ron gets to Patrice's house,
right? Well, Connie is not able to fit the C4 in the mailbox, so she leaves the purse under the wheel of Patrice's car,
which is like why couldn't she just leave it on the porch?
The purse. I can only imagine that as a white woman, that purse meant a lot to her, and she didn't want it to get blown up.
Okay.
That's all I can guess. I mean, they told her to leave it on the porch, but she does not leave the purse on the porch. She tries to put it in the mailbox, but then Patrice arrives with her friend, and then Connie has to leave the porch because she doesn't have time to find a hiding spot for the bomb.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think in her mind, she's like, "I'll just hide and wait for them to come back out, and then I'll blow up the car." I think that was her plan. But yeah, Ron's right behind her.
Tackles her, and then like the worst moment in the film, for me at least, is when a couple of white cops come on the scene and just assume that he's
assaulting her,
black man who is assaulting this white woman, and
they start beating him. Yeah.
And it just is a reminder of the world that they live in. Even if he is a cop,
he's not
even
safe.
If she is a criminal,
he's not safe.
He's not safe.
Yeah. It's always going to be her. They're going to believe her over him. And then Felix and his gang show up. And they have the trigger.
And they don't know that she put it in the car.
And they're right next to the car.
Right next to the car.
In a bit of poetic justice.
Blow themselves up.
They blow themselves up. Patrice and her friend, so they are fine. They get knocked to the ground.
Well, the two men in the car are not fine.
No. The guys in the car get blown up, but Patrice and her friend are fine, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's around the time that Flip shows up.
Yeah.
And
says, "He's a cop. Get off
fucking
him."
idiots. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And they believe him because he's white.
I know. But also there's this moment where Ron says to Flip, "You're late." And then I was like, I wish we had more movies with these guys. Like, I want to see more. I want to see more movies with Ron and Flip just like taking down the white supremacist system. I want more of them. I want to see them together more. I wish we had more. But yeah, in the end, Connie gets arrested for terrorism. I can only assume. Probably won't see too much time because she's a white woman. Felix gets blown up. It doesn't look good for the KKK chapter there. So you've got some stuff about the ending. You want to talk about the ending here? We get a fake out happy ending.
Well, there are some things. So
yeah, there's some good things happen, but there's I feel like Spike gives us like here's your fucking happy ending, you guys.
Yeah, but
at first,
right? Okay, so here's the happy ending. So, racist cop gets called out because they record him saying that he could get away with killing black people. He wouldn't be
and it's
caught.
Almost absurdly positive, this part of the movie where everybody's like jokey happy, and I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
And
I know
the police chief comes out and they're like, "We got you, motherfucker," and
and
Flip's
I'm just
there.
like, I turned to my dad and I was like, yeah, except that in real life, like, they still get away with it. Like,
I mean, nothing would happen to him. But yeah, in this moment, we're going to take down super racist cop. And then what else happens?
And then Ron calls David Duke and like outs himself.
Well, actually, that's after. That's
what?
That's at the very end. So what happens is we get the faux happy ending, right? And then Ron walks in. He's fucking high-fiving everybody. They're cheering him. They did a great job with this investigation. And they sit down, and the police chief says, "We've had some budget cuts. We gotta cut this. You've prevented this bomb from going off, but there's no credible threat here. You guys have the cross burnings have stopped. Yeah. Joe Biden's been elected, guys. We don't need to do anything else."
Yeah.
And Ron is not happy about it. Flip, none of them are happy about it, but the white cops are not going to stand up and say no. Like, we need to keep doing this. Yeah. They're going to go with what the boss says.
Yeah.
And Ron is angry and he walks out. That's when the phone starts ringing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he decides, well, because they've told him not to contact David Duke, and the last thing he's going to do is now. He needs David Duke to know, like, what a fucking moron he is. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I'll let you take that part.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say what he said. But,
no.
But he basically repeats what was said earlier about how black people talk versus white people, and kind of says the thing that David Duke said, that he would know he was talking to a black person if the person said it like this,
and he goes off of a list of slurs. Yep. Also, we didn't talk about this, but anytime Ron is on the phone laughing with other people in the precinct at David Duke, I cackled.
Yeah.
That was all so good. But yeah, he basically is like talking to David Duke, and he's like, gosh, I'm really sorry about what happened. That's terrible. Like, what a loss to the community. And then he basically drops some hints, and you can see as David Duke's face just processes what's going on. And finally he's like, fuck you fucking idiot. And he slams the phone down.
Yeah.
It was very satisfying. So we get a bit of a happy ending.
We get a bit of it. But then Spike Lee is like, but
hey guys, white supremacy is a fucking problem. And it's not going away. Because Patrice and Ron, not only does the investigation get closed, but they get a cross burning right outside their house to let them know the Klan knows where they live. Mm-hmm. And Spike Lee was, I listened to an interview with him about this film when the movie came out. And he had said, we didn't really know how should this movie end? And I think he knew that it couldn't be a happy end, like a full happy ending, because yes, they take down this one problem, but the problem persists. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, and then I saw the footage from Charleston. Mm-hmm. And he was like, and then I knew this is how the movie should end. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think that I am guilty in some ways of, once Trump was out of office, I didn't forget about this stuff, but I did kind of get caught up in my own life and go, you know what? I can breathe for a minute. At least there's some grownups in charge now. And I let myself become a little complacent. And then this whole thing happened in our very own backyard, where 8 people were murdered by a white supremacist. And it's like, this stuff doesn't stop. It doesn't rest. It doesn't go away. And I think that's what we're left with, is like, yeah, it's great that this guy was able to do this thing. That's great. What are we going to do about all the rest of this shit? It's not going away. They don't even feel like they need to wear hoods anymore.
Yeah, no.
I think that was because there was a lot of photography, a lot of emphasis put on these hoods, and I think that was in part to show that these guys were afraid to show their true identity, but also these men and women marching in the streets, no hoods on, these
saying these horrible things.
They don't fear being outed in public. They want everyone to know how much they hate. They want everyone to know what their stance is. And they're not afraid. And we need to make them afraid.
Yeah.
They need to feel like they've been emboldened by having one of their own in the White House. And that should not be allowed. And again, this is the duality of America. We want to tell ourselves, well, this isn't us. We're not them. We're Donald Trump as president. That's not us. But guess what? It is. It is us, and it has been us. I don't have the answer of how to change that. I don't want it to be forever. I don't have the answer how to change that. I think we can start by listening and acknowledging these stories and acknowledging our role in them and trying to do better. But we're not given any solution, and the film is not responsible for giving us a solution.
No.
But anyway, any final thoughts here on BlacKkKlansman?
I really love this film, and I think that everything that it says is important, and I think that Spike Lee didn't coddle, didn't reassure, and nor should he.
No, he should not.
But he entertained.
Yeah, this movie is entertaining.
He taught us things, and there's a lesson, but we were also entertained.
But it had humor, it had heart, the craft of the filmmaking here is sublime.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that I need to be entertained in order to hear this stuff, but this film takes you on a journey and takes you on a multiple layers of emotions in addition to giving you a story that you need to hear.
I will say I want to jump back to my actual favorite part of this film. It's in the dance club, nightclub, with where all of the students, I'm guessing at the Black Student Union, went to a club.
It's after
and they're singing and dancing to, I believe, "I'm Falling in Love" or some kind of soul music from the 70s.
Popular song from that time.
And it's just so joyful and so free, and they just look like they're having so much fun, and I just think that's so great that he included that in this film. After they were pulled over,
the resilience, by the and the fact that it's in a way, it's beautiful to see that joy, but in a way, it's also God, this is so commonplace for them that if you stopped every time something like this happened to you, you would never be able to live your life.
No.
So the choice to live your life in spite of what this system is trying to do to your life and your personhood is
I just
incredible.
loved that scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was great.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's time to get into some thirsty moments. I think, this is a beautiful work of art, this film. This film will be remembered for what it is. And I think Green Book will forget about it. 10 years, nobody even fucking know what that movie is. Honestly. And for a podcast that is about two women who are thirsty for Adam Driver, there's a lot to take in here. There's a lot to take in. Sarah, would you like to go first?
I actually abstained from thirsty moments in this film because this film did not make me feel thirsty in the least.
Okay.
Especially his character.
That's fair.
I didn't feel comfortable thirsting after his character. I just didn't.
Well, I'll just give the thirst for both of us then, because I sure did. I think that you can respect this film and what it's about, and still appreciate how just the beautiful Adam Driver-ness of it all. I think you can have both. I can have my cake and eat it too, and you know what I'm going to.
Yes, please. I want to hear what yours
Well,
is.
we've already touched on it, so I actually have 4 things that I wrote down. I could have wrote down more, but I stopped at 4. So I'm going to go with, we've touched on it a little bit, but the wardrobe. The flannel shirts, the button downs, the sheepskin jacket. I love it all. Also, I wanted to pinpoint the moment when Ron gets off the phone the first time and Flip just swivels his chair very, very slowly.
A slow turn, yeah.
That's some good stuff. I also want to thank Spike Lee and his cinematographer for all. There was a lot of beautiful profile shots in this movie. I don't think we talk enough about Adam. I mean, I know the internet does, but we haven't talked enough about Adam and how beautiful his profile is. You don't think so? You're making a face.
I guess I don't really like his nose.
I love it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's unique to him. And I think there's a lot of really beautiful profile shots of him in this movie that really are lit well and just really accentuate all the best parts of his really striking profile. And so I want to thank Spike Lee for that.
Okay.
And then lastly, I just want to go with the general big dick energy. Flip has big dick energy. You know? And it's just like radiating off of him for this whole movie.
How do you define big dick energy?
I think it's like the swagger. There's a little bit of like he's restrained, but there's like this confidence that he's going to go in and do this really scary thing, but he's going to commit to it. And that at no point is he going to let himself be intimidated by these fucking assholes.
Yeah, I just that's interesting because I really got kind of a scared vibe from him the entire time. Like a hesitant, timid kind of.
I did not get
the opposite of big dick energy, actually. A kind of like someone who wasn't fully in control or in charge, or kind of had to go along with the motions, had to go along with what he was being told to do.
Interesting. I don't feel that way about that character at all. I certainly feel like he's complicit in some things in the which we discussed. But I think that for these two men to go into the fucking hornet's nest is very brave. Was brave, the real guys that did it. And it just narratively in the movie, it's very brave of them to go in there and be, for Flip also, to go in there and to be this, to play the part of that awful person and have things coming out of your mouth that are slurs about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're all egocentric and we're thinking about ourselves. I think that takes a lot of big dick energy. So I just want to applaud the big dick energy generally.
As you would imagine, I'm normally up for pretty much anything in the bedroom, but I can't tell if what happened was weird or sexy.
Are we ready for some Adam and Andy trivia?
Yes.
Adam and Andy, a trivia contest for one.
Yes.
So Sarah's going to give me some trivia in some kind of configuration. We don't really know what it is. She changes the rules on me every week, and I love it. I love it.
I'm so sorry. So this is a legitimate Adam or Andy. These are legitimate Adam or Andy quotes. So you have to pick.
So these are real.
One.
You're not tricking me this time.
I'm not tricking.
Okay.
I swear this
I'll
is not
believe you. I'll believe you. I'll believe you.
So this is. I'm going to give you 3 quotes.
Okay.
And you have to decide which ones are Adam and which ones are Andy.
Got it. Okay.
If I had a penny for every strange look I've gotten from strangers on the street, I'd have about $10 to $15, which is a lot when you're dealing with pennies. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Self-expression is just as valuable a tool as a rifle on your shoulder.
That's Adam.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be Adam.
Last one. We don't understand why we're here. No one's giving us an answer. Religion is vague. Your parents can't help because they're just people, and it's all terrible, and there's no meaning to anything.
I think the first one is Andy. I think the second one is Adam. And I think the third one is Adam as well.
Correct.
I got it!
You got it!
I feel like that nihilism could only come from Adam Driver.
I think that the ones I picked, I like the quotes because they're like cool quotes, but like I think there are pretty like, yeah, that makes sense. Like
I also think it in a way thematically matches with the movie as well, because it's all about like how other people are seeing you and the world. Nobody's going to sweep in and save you, and I think awesome. That was super fun. Thank you.
Yay.
Oh, you look awesome. Come the fuck upstairs.
Okay.
But wait, I have to warn you about something.
What?
If you come up here, I'm gonna tie you to my bed and keep you for at least 3 days. I'm just in that kind of mood.
Okay, shall we spin the wheel?
Yes.
So we did an Adam film. So now we got to do an Andy project. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead. Let me just make sure I've got the right thing pulled up here. And I think you'll be happy with this, Sarah, because I got a little treat for you this week. So what's on the wheel this week?
Yay!
Well, what's on the wheel?
Sorry, never stop, never
it's just
stopping, never stop stopping, never stop, never stopping. Is it?
Yeah. So I just put pop star, never stop, never stopping over and over and over again, because it's about time that we watch it. And you know what?
Yeah.
I like to leave things up to fate, but sometimes you just got to push fate a little bit.
Yes, I love it.
So we're going to be watching Pop Star.
I have wanted to watch this for years, but my parents
too.
were like, this is bad.
And you know what? Did you see that interview? Somebody put it on my Facebook page. One of the things I love about doing this show is that I am now the person that people have to text pictures of Adam Driver to, and Andy Samberg, and videos and like interviews. And Andy was recently
What about me?
Well,
what about me, people?
I don't know.
Come on,
Sarah,
people.
Sarah wants you to send her.
I'm thirsty too. I'm not as thirsty as Nicole, but I'm still thirsty.
I think you're just as thirsty. I think you've got inner thirst, and that's just as important as outer thirst. So please, everyone, send Sarah something Adam or Andy related today. She needs it. She needs it. We need that pick me up. Somebody sent me, I think it was my friend Aaron, who sent me a link to an interview with Andy on the Stephen Colbert show. And Stephen was just raving about Pop Star and how
Pop Star.
So he was on there to promote Palm Springs, but Stephen was like, I had never seen this movie, and now I've watched it like 100 times.
Which one? Pop Star?
Pop Star. What? He said it was like the greatest thing. Yeah, he said it was like the greatest thing, and he's like, I keep singing the songs in the shower. He's like, I fucking love this movie. So I was like,
Stephen Colbert. I'm excited.
So, plot synopsis or logline, I guess. When it becomes clear that his solo album is a failure, a former boy band member does everything in his power to maintain his celebrity status. That is Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. So that's what we'll be watching next on the show. Sarah, as always, I've enjoyed talking with you about this, about these actors who I dearly love. And as quarantine hopefully comes to an end soon, this podcast will continue.
Yes.
I think we've talked about this in another episode, but I have done the math, and we can do this show for like 5 years. That's how much stuff they have between all the Brooklyn Nine-Nine and the movies
and all this
and
new
the girls
shit
and
coming out.
New shit.
Too.
We're not going anywhere, you guys.
As long as they're alive.
As long as they're out there. As long as Adam is out there in a boat somewhere, wearing a blazer and having pastries shoved in his mouth. As long as Andy is out there making the beautiful comedy or drama, should he so want to do that. As long as he's out there being a chipmunk or whatever the fuck he's doing, we will keep making this show.
We will keep showing up.
We will keep showing up. We will keep showing up for you and for us, because we need this just as much as you do. Mostly for us. You can find us on the socials. We love talking to people about Adam and Andy, so please tell us what you thought about this episode or any of the other episodes. Any suggestions for films or TV or videos or anything that these guys have done that you want us to cover on the show. Pics of Adam on the set of House of Gucci. We'll take it all. We are at Adam and Andy Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us on Twitter at Adam Andy Pod. Sarah, I feel like we should go ahead and pick a date when we're going to hang out in person.
On the air?
On the air. So that you can't back out of it because everybody has heard us.
But I don't back out of
I know,
things.
I'm just joking. I know you don't. So I'm getting my shot on the 15th, which means you must be getting yours on the 16th.
Hopefully.
And so 2 weeks.
Unless it's wait.
2 weeks from that would be the 30th.
Yes. So
April 30th. I've already made my appointment for the second dose.
Right. Okay. So if I get the same shot as my dad, it would be April 15th. But if I get a different one, it would be the week before.
Oh, the week before. Well, I'm not getting the shot until the 15th. Yeah. So I think the earliest we could hang out would be the 30th.
Yeah. Or
so
like May 1st would be a...
Oh, you want to do May 1st? Okay. I'm going to put it in my calendar. Hang out with Sarah IRL.
I almost put hang out with Sarah.
And we'll come up with a time later, but it feels good to have that. It feels good to have that in the calendar. Maybe we can watch a movie together.